So tonight we get to begin our night with a brief fireside chat between two champions in business who demonstrate that if your goal is to unlock the potential that's all around you, you first need to believe that it's there. Per Scholas has proven this model works. Talent is indeed everywhere, even when traditional pathways to highly rewarding opportunities are not. Our two honored guests will attest to the rewards of skills-first hiring at scale, which expands employers' access to talented, capable professionals from varied and non-traditional backgrounds. He is an American business executive and tech innovator who challenges companies to open their minds to a vast talent pool that they've been missing out on. She is a former chairman and CEO of IBM and the best-selling author who provides proof that skills-first hiring drives competitiveness and equity. Please help me in welcoming Charles Phillips and Ginni Rometty to the stage. You got to take the center seat, man. Has anyone ever told you that you have like a Barack Obama feel to you? Like, I just feel important sitting next to you, honestly.
No, but a lot of people have told Barack, since I'm older, that he has a Charles Phillips aura.
Oh, well, excuse us. I like that. That's good. All right, I am really excited about this opportunity, and we're about to get some really good knowledge here. So we're going to start with a question. I'm going to start with you, Ginni, because I think, but I'm going to come to you as well. You both have been champions of skills-first hiring. Ginni, you particularly introduced this idea of the new collar jobs, and Charles, you've led with similar values in your work. I'd love to hear more about why you think this approach matters to businesses and also to our communities at large.
All right, I'll start. First, congratulations to Plenio and Per Scholas. I mean, what Plenio has accomplished and his predecessors is an amazing, amazing feat and really so well needed by all of us employers. So let me start there. And then to answer your question directly, I should say new collar was a phrase we coined, and it was precursor to this idea of skills first. So a really fast, quick story. This would be back, oh my goodness, 15, 20 years ago, and I was looking for cyber people. Some of you are cyber trained. Well, at that time there was none. And I happened to just serendipity walk into a meeting, I was already CEO, about people who are doing what we call corporate social responsibility work, just working with some high schools in a community college, and they said, look, we're going to do our job, help them with training, and we'll give them an internship and maybe a job. And so I said, well, we need all these cyber people. And I would come back a year later, they said, oh, they did fantastic. And I said, well, how many did you hire? The answer was 3. I said, we need 10,000. They said, oh, no. They said, we only hire people with PhDs or college degrees. I said, but they did the job. And that would be the beginning of my journey. And at the time, politically, we called it new collar, something between, it wasn't necessarily blue collar, it wasn't white collar, it was trying to say a new class that was not less than anything else, but that for all of us as employers, this was a real talent strategy. And having to convince a workforce, I will tell you that our experience with that group is that they were more retentive, more loyal, took as much education, and had the same performance as my college grads. There's nothing to not like about that equation. And so that would be what would start it, and it would firm in my mind 2 really important equations. I'm an engineer. So one was that aptitude and access are not spread equally. Aptitude is, but not access. And the other equation was that at the end of the day, where you start should not determine where you end. Because I can't tell you how many of those people, we actually had our first PhD out of the group. So that was my beginnings of skills first.
That's awesome. If you're like taking notes, say that line one more time.
where you start should not be where you end.
Give me the one before that one. The aptitude.
Access and aptitude
Yes.
are not equal.
That's good stuff. I hope somebody's writing that down. I can't write it down, so write it down for me. I'm gonna get it later, okay? Charles, same to you. Same question.
Well, I got to this. Trying to compete for talent in the tech industry is really tough. And so I got frustrated over the years because people would leave early. You hire someone who went to college, they did 5 years, 3 years, and somebody hires them away. And like Ginni said, I found that when I started going to non-traditional places, they were much more loyal, performed just as well, if not better, but they were hard to find. And so after trying to do this on my own, building relationships with certain community colleges, I work with CUNY, trying to get the professors trained certain jobs, it's just not efficient for a single company to do it. And then I met Plenio, and that was the answer. And he's a real entrepreneur, the way he's built this business out over the years, and the most cheerful man you ever meet, so he was easy to work with. And for us, we hired several of the Per Scholas graduates into one of the companies I own called AST. They all came through, got their Salesforce certifications, which is what we needed at the time, performed well, and did him proud, did us proud. And so he has produced something here that's very special. And I think people step back when CEOs look at it like, the country is aging. We don't have enough people in these skill sets over time. The H-1B visas are harder to get, so you're not going to import it any. So we need workers. And so you need to look in non-traditional places if you're going to fulfill these jobs, and it's good for the country as well. And Plenio's helped us out a lot.
That's really powerful. You mentioned Plenio, so I want to kind of transition a little bit and talk about when we're thinking about building these inclusive pathways. There's a lot of cultural change that has to happen on the inside, and you mentioned this leadership idea. So talk to me a little bit about like what's the work that has to go on the inside to really shape the culture to be able to be thinking about these inclusive pathways.
Okay, I'll start. I think this topic, I always think of sort of 3 dimensions of it, because you described the problem aptly. I always tell people, don't go down this path unless you really authentically believe it. And I came to authentically believe it, that little story I told you, at the end of it, I asked someone, I said, just what percentage of people in America do have a college degree? And I would learn that the percent that do not is 65%. That means you have overlooked 65% of the people in this country for jobs. And so I think they're, like I said, aptitudes spread equally by God all over. So to me, I authentically believed a diverse workforce that had come from anywhere was the best workforce. So that's my first cultural point. I think Charles and I both, in our work we do together now, we've had a group of CEOs. It's got to start with people really believing this is good for their business. It's not just altruistic. It is good. The second thing I would say is then you got to be accountable. And I know many people start with this idea of, as Charles said, hiring from non-traditional areas, and they look at it as an experiment. Let me take 2-3 people. I feel like if you cannot do that, because if they're an experiment, you're never going to change. 2 or 3 people cannot change you. But if you hire in a big cohort, they will change you at the end of the day. And then the last I would just say is to get that culture to change, the actions that you have to take, and this is where I go back to Plenio, it's a supply and demand problem. And on the demand side, part of what Charles and I work on now, absolutely one of the biggest barriers are all of our companies over-credential the jobs that are out there. It's happened for many reasons over history's time, after wars and different things, but I know in my case, when I told you 100% of the jobs required PhDs or bachelor degrees, after a 5-year journey, that number was 50%. But it took really diligent work in the company to move everything to us, describing it as a skill, not a degree. And then it could open the way for so many people to get hired. And as I retired the last year, I would say it was almost 20% of our hiring was from these non-traditional sources.
The change management issue was a challenge. It took a while to get my company to turn around and start hiring. So one thing I did was say, for the next year, the graduates that I'm bringing you, I want you to try them out. It's not going to be on your budget. It's on my budget. And so I give you a year, and I was confident that they would prove themselves in a year. And then the year 2, they're on your budget because you just hired them, and they're doing good work for you. That worked very well, just to get it started. And then I had a conversation with the head of HR, and I said, if I told you for the rest of the next 3 years, we're only going to recruit from Texas and no other state in the country, you'd say I was crazy. Why am I limiting the talent pool for that? That's what you're doing by not considering these other people. Let's broaden it. And those two things got us going a little bit.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Both this idea of really believing in this process and not it being something that you're just sort of doing because it's a fad. And then what I hear you saying, Charles, just put your money where your mouth is. Like, hey, if we're going to really do this, let's invest in it and really give it a chance. We have a room full of wonderful people, funders, folks who got jobs out there. I'm looking at you. Talk to us a little bit about what can we be doing in this room to really make sure that we're making a difference. We've got a lot of folks gathered here tonight. What's sort of our bold call to action?
I'll let you start.
Well, a lot of people in this room are already doing great work, so thank you for everybody who's participating. But I think what we need to do, because this is a dynamic industry that's changing with AI, so we're going to have to constantly create new job roles and know what those are, and then consider Per Scholas people for those new roles as well, not just traditional roles. And so we have to evolve with the industry. I just ask everybody to think bigger and evolve as it happens.
Very good.
I guess I'd just add to that, to Charles' point about it's an industry changing with AI. All of us that use AI or build it, I think it's our responsibility now to prepare another workforce. You can't just let this come into the world and not bring it in safely. And part of that is more people have to have better jobs because of it. And so I agree, we agree. And I think I often say to people, and I'm really not over exaggerating, I think democracy depends on this, because if people don't think they have a better future, people revolt. And so to me, this idea of skills first for so much of our population, if I was an employer, I guess the bold call to action is what we're both here to say is hire more people that way. I mean, it's a wonderful talent strategy, right? And in the end, I think it does the right thing for the country.
I mean, AI is a risk to some jobs, but it's going to lower the barrier to entry for other jobs. And so I think more people should be included now. And hopefully that's the way it evolves.
Very awesome. Can we give it up for these two champions here? Some really, really great nuggets. Well, on behalf of Per Scholas, I want to thank you both for the work that you are doing and will continue to do, and thank you so much, and we appreciate you, and thank you.